Good afternoon, PSQ Nation, and welcome to our the 12th webinar for this year. All right, so despite the gloomy weather, thank you for joining us today. So let me see on the chat box. Uh, what are you drinking or perhaps eating right now that we are here on our webinar? Or let me rephrase the question. What is your favorite drink during this kind of weather? All right, PSQ Nation. And I hope our members from the Visayas and Mindanao area are also doing good despite the destruction of Typhoon Odette. So still a merry and a happy Christmas to everyone. All right. Okay, so let me introduce to you our esteemed speaker for this afternoon. Our speaker has 16 years of senior academic leadership experience. Her relentless pursuit of process excellence and continual improvement has earned several awards and achieved higher accreditation levels for the institutions she had served. These include the Commission on Higher Education Autonomous Status, Philippine Quality Award for Commitment to Higher Quality, ISO 9001, Higher Accreditation Levels, and Global Performance Excellence Award Best in Class, among others. Also, our speaker initiated the development of various continual quality improvement projects like quality circles, curriculum mapping, and 7S, among others. She is a certified ISO 9001 internal auditor and passed the ISO 9001 lead auditor examination given by TUVSUD PSB Philippines. She is an assessor and accreditor of CHED Region 4A's Regional Quality Assessment Team on Humanities, Social Sciences, and Communication Cluster, CHED's Institutional Sustainability Assessment, and PACOCOA on Liberal Arts and Research. She served as an assessor of the Philippine Quality Challenge and Philippine Quality Award. She serves as the Vice President for Philippine Quality Award Administration and a trustee of our Philippine Society for Quality. She was also a recipient of Miguel Unson Award and Angel Peña Award for her outstanding dedication and volunteerism to promote quality awareness and practices. Our speaker graduated magna cum laude at San Pablo Colleges in San Pablo City with a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication degree. She further pursued master's and doctorate degrees in communication arts and development communication at the University of the Philippines, Las Bañas, respectively, in 2013. She was a recipient of this academic achievement. It is my honor to introduce to you PSQ Nation, our speaker for this afternoon, Dr. Zandra and Maningas.
Good afternoon, Doc Naro. Thank you so much for the
Good
generous
afternoon.
introduction. How are you?
I'm good, and I hope, just like what I have mentioned, all our PSQ Nation members are doing great despite the gloomy weather.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doc Naro.
All right, take it away, Doc Sans.
So amazing rainy afternoon to all the participants around the Philippines and the officials of the Philippine Society for Quality. I am truly honored and humbled to have been given this opportunity to share my insights on digital research for the PSQ Nation. First and foremost, let me know from our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn participants their research journey during this pandemic time. Can you give me a research shout out if you have started or pursued research during this pandemic? Can you see? Can I see those viewers from our Facebook, YouTube, and this is also the first time that we are streaming live via LinkedIn. So can I know? Can you give me a research shout out if you have started or pursued your research endeavor during this pandemic time? Thank you so much. Okay, how about those who have completed the researches during this pandemic? Can you give me an outstanding shout out? You can make use of your comment boxes to put in your shout out. A research shout out for those who have started or pursued their researches, and outstanding shout out for those who have completed their research outputs during this pandemic time. And thank you so much for those who will be participating in that very short survey. So for this afternoon, we will be discussing four things. Can we see the next slide? First, we have to understand what is remote research. And then I'll be giving you, this is similar with a scientific table, but I'm not a scientist. So this is, I call this one rest 3W table. Haha, what is rest 3W, the 3W table? So we will be discussing that in a while. And then what are the challenges in researching during this crisis, and the digital research theoretical frameworks. I've given this presentation for several platforms already in different with different audiences, but every time I present this one, I make sure that there are new learnings, there are new inputs added so that it would be more meaningful and beneficial to our participants. Okay, but before anything else, let me know, how adaptable are you? How adaptable are our PSQ nation? Today's work environment is less predictable and changes at a much faster pace than ever before. And you have experienced that. You have experienced the fast acceleration from the pre-pandemic period to pandemic period. And to keep up, a lot of companies, all kind of industries, be it service, manufacturing, hospital, these need new skills. They need new ways of thinking about how to do our work. We manage our careers. We train our people on how can they cope up with this kind of situation. And most um, human resources professionals, I don't know if they have and most of them, they will look into your IQ, right? They will look into your intelligent quotient, your emotional quotient. These are for them prerequisites for success in work. Okay, but how about assessing the adaptability of the personnel or the researchers involved? Okay, so let me I have a short survey here. This is actually from Executive Agenda. I'll be giving you a minute. The PSQ Nation. I'll be giving you a 30 second to 1 minute to answer this ninth question. So this will check. You will know your level of adaptability based on this survey. So can we show the code? Okay, kindly scan this QR code. I'll give you 30 seconds to 1 minute to answer this short survey from Executive Agenda. And all this link has been shared in our social media platform. So we have Facebook, we have YouTube, and we have LinkedIn. So those who are tuning in via these social media platforms, you are also encouraged to do so. And if you did already, kindly put in your score so we would know your level of adaptability. So let us see if there are those who have finished already the survey. This is a very short survey. It has, I think, 9 questions. I tried this one as well. So mine is, I'll share with you later. Let us see first your adaptability level. So for those who have completed, let me see what's your score. You can put there your score. Anyone? Okay, let's wait for your scores. So while waiting for your scores, um, creative agility. This is our capacity to adapt to continually evolving work environment. And nowadays, this is very necessary. Are we agile? Are we creatively agile? Okay? IQ and EQ are no longer enough. Yes, these were prerequisites for success in work, but these are no longer enough at these current times. AQ, or adaptable quotient, is a must have in 2021. That is a new concept. Okay, we have IQ, we have EQ, we also have AQ, or adaptability quotient. This is a must have in 2021. If you want to thrive in the next few years, you need to have this one. You need to be adaptable, you need to be agile. At a time when many employers are trying to recover from the difficulties of 2020, this AQ will provide a measurement that businesses can use to determine the employee's ability or the researcher's ability to adapt to change in real time. So when we speak of adaptability quotient, this actually made its debut in the public consciousness a decade ago when a column by a career coach and executive recruiter, Stuart Parkin, was published. So when we speak of IQ, these measure our intelligence, right? If we speak of EQ, this help us measure our emotional intelligence. But you likely haven't heard of anything as your AQ. This is also known as adaptability quotient. So according to an investor, a tech investor, Natalie Fratto, adaptability plays a vital role in success. And as the future of work continues to evolve, we have to acclimate ourselves to different changes, whether it is stressful or not. We have to be prepared. We have to arm ourselves with this kind of situation. Okay, we have to arm ourselves with this attribute. Okay, for nothing is permanent except this change. Okay, change is the only permanent in the world. And COVID-19 pandemic, environmental concerns, and social unrest have upended the established order. Across all industries, organizations, we are all adapting faster than ever. And over the last year, even large organizations have to find ways to adapt to the world's largest agile working experiment. And um, this proved that even old dogs can learn new tricks. And even small organizations, they have tried so hard to adapt. Okay, some of them closed because of their inability to adapt, but others were able to adjust their system. Okay, so to live in this world is to adapt constantly. And a year after this pandemic, we have suddenly been forced to adapt to this new normal system. So when we speak of adaptability quotient, as our environment becomes increasingly complex, more unsure and technology driven, with a faster and faster pace, this AQ is an important capability that is emerging. This is our capacity to adapt. So when we speak of AQ, this measures anyone's ability to greet changes. So even researchers, we have to greet changes in our research methods. Okay, we have to cope and thrive with changes. We have to demonstrate flexibility. Okay, so when we speak of AQ, according to the uh, it's a definitive treatise on adaptability quotient. This is entitled "Adapt or Die." Are you going to adapt or are you going to die? Okay, so the AQ is defined as our ability to adjust our programs, to adjust our product services, to adjust our strategies, to adjust our research methods in response to unanticipated changes in the environment. And we have witnessed a low adaptability quotient in the death or deflation of some brands. Like for example, Toys R Us, Blockbuster, Kodak, BlackBerry. So when customers abandoned in-store purchases in favor of this cyber shopping sprees, when the convenience of streaming overtook the experience of wandering about a video store, when the functionality of smartphones overtook the aesthetic design of keyboard wielding BlackBerry. So it was the adaptability of these companies that was put to the test, not their ability to market themselves, not the quality of their customer service, not the strength of its internal operations. No matter the degree of competency they displayed in those areas, it wouldn't save them in a rapid fire market that they were not adapting to. So as a researcher, we also have to adapt with this rapid fire market, with the different changes happening in the environment. Okay, so their inability to look at the way market was changing, and we have to acknowledge that their legacy business model had been outmoded, got the old ways, and begin restructuring around new customer demands and newly available technology. Okay, so in research, we also have what we call rest. Okay, this is what we call research resilience. So similarly, we have to swallow our pride and say we need to change everything we've been doing in order to survive. Okay, we have to change our strategies, our approaches in setting up our research environment. We have to change our method of gathering feedback. We have to change our method of mobilizing our research participants. Okay, so this is research resilience. So this adaptability quotient, what does it reveal about us? What does research resilience reveals about researchers? So when we allow ourselves to adapt to different situations, life is easier. 'Di ba? A wise man once told us, a wise man adapts himself to circumstances as water shapes itself to the vessel that contains it. So us, we have to understand that AQ or resilience is a process of adapting. Okay, that it's all about adaptation, but what does it really mean? So we may understand that AQ is about adapting and having the capacity to bounce back easily. But what does it really mean? It means that is mean that a person who has a high AQ and uh, it means that a person who has high AQ or high adaptability quotient or rest has first an open mind. Okay, we need to have an open mind that allows us to view things in different situations from multiple perspectives. Okay, we need to have that open mind to look at different perspectives, multiple perspectives, for us to truly understand the possibilities, the different possibilities available. Second, we have to look on the ability to look at situations through the eyes of research participants, through the eyes of our stakeholders, and understand that unknown is possible. And that while we are uncomfortable with these challenges, with the different issues related to digital research or remote research, we have to adapt. Okay, we have to adapt to a situation that may have numerous variables. Okay, so when we speak of remote research is a research that is conducted from just little farther away. Okay, be it from home, Okay, next slide, please. Be it from our home, from another office, from another area, from another municipality, from another city, or even another country away from our participants. So when we speak of remote research, it can be location displaced and time displaced. So during a typical in-person research study, we meet our participants face to face, right? We go to our laboratory, we meet our participants there, we conduct our research at our laboratory or any research offices. In other cases, such as ethnographic study, we visit our research participants in person, in their community, in their homes. In a more rigorous ethnographic study, we may even visit them in several different cities around the country, around the world, to get a wider cross section of views and behaviors. So, also remote research it changes the location. Okay, generally it changes the location of the research from in person to virtual or online. Okay, so these are the dimensions of in-person and remote research. So when we speak of conventional research, which is the top left quadrant, this is for the conventional lab-based research, wherein the researcher, the participant, and the team, you are all in the research laboratory or where you are all in the research local, okay? And the research is taking place in real time. While the live streaming or the on the top right, we have research that is being conducted live, but with some members of the team of the researcher being in a different location. Thus, the research is streamed from one location to another location and consumed in real time. There are two nuances. The researcher and participant can be in the same location and the session is streamed to the team that is physically somewhere else in the world. The second one is the researcher, the participant and team, they are all in different locations and the research is streamed and consumed entirely remotely. Okay, but both of these options are good. They may have slight benefit of having the researcher and the participant in the same physical location, as it does make the interaction between the two of them more natural. But then again, the computer mediated distance might help the user to be more honest about things that they don't like to share. Okay. Also, we have unmoderated research, which is the bottom right quadrant. This is this is where whenever the research is conducted via tool. Okay, this is performed at any time the participant wants and consumed at a later time. The difference is that unmoderated research is not, of course, moderated by the researcher. Whereas, for example, sharing a video of research previously conducted by a researcher, this is now what we call research video sharing, wherein this is when the research, this is when the research takes place live in real time, recorded, and then the recording can be shared uh, after and it can be shared among the participants so that the participants or research participants can consume them at a different time when the research was conducted. So it's less interactive since it already happened, but this is a way that research can um the participants or you as a researcher, you can always watch this video. You can always watch the recording to assess what transpired, what happened during or to recheck, to revalidate. Okay. Okay. At this point, let me present to you the rest 3Ws table. So as mentioned, this will be our guide in doing remote research. So this is very similar with the scientific table, but as I've mentioned, I'm not a scientist. Okay. Um, so this one, the rest table, rest referring to research resilience. Okay. 3Ws referring to the three factors that interplay in the research process. So we have the workforce, we have the workflow, and the work environment. So under the research workforce, we have four factors, okay, that are four characteristics that a researcher should have whenever you are doing remote research. So your curiosity, your mental flexibility, unlearn, tolerance for failure. Okay, workflow. These are the things or methods that you need to facilitate a remote research. Okay, what are the tools, the methods, the ethics that you have to consider, and whether you are doing it in whether you will moderate or you will not moderate. And then we have the work environment, wherein these are the factors that could affect the success or failure of your remote research. So basically, when we speak of remote research, this is physical distance of conducting research remotely. And specifically, the technological barrier between you and the participant creates enough of a social distance as to reduce um, other effects. Okay, like for example, the Hawthorne effect. Okay, so this one, um, this pertains all the different factors. Okay, so let's start with rest workforce. Okay, can we go back to the previous slide? Okay, previous slide. Let's discuss first workforce. Previous slide. Okay, can we go back to the previous slide? Okay, thank you so much. So for this one, the workforce, who are the people involved during whenever you are doing a research? Of course, you're the main you're the primary, the researchers are the primary responsible in here. So what are the characteristics of a researcher to thrive in this changing research landscape? First, you need to have curiosity. This is a core component of adaptability. Okay, it is your capacity to remain open and curious. For example, you may take a strengths-based approach toward digital research and its approaches instead of a predisposition of for finding fault, flaw, or hole in the digital research approaches. We might instead follow a process of building them up to assess their merit. Okay? When we speak of mental flexibility, researchers should send the message that it's okay to change thinking, it's okay to change practices, it's okay to change feelings or our ways of working or doing. So being flexible makes way for others to contribute new thoughts, ideas, and approaches. So when we speak of unlearn, it may involve letting go of the norm to make rule for new concepts. So when we do this as researchers, we must also learn to unlearn and relearn for us to succeed. Most famously, it was one of the world's greatest futurists, Alvin Toffler, who observed the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Similarly, Mark Twain observed it is as important for the person to learn it all over again in different ways every 24 hours. Okay? So when we speak of tolerance for failure, this is our capacity to endure making mistakes from it is an important part of our researchers' ability to ultimately succeed. So to build a tolerance for failure means being able to frame failure as an opportunity to learn. Okay? So when we speak of rest workflow, this pertains to uh, the process, the flow, the tools, the methods, ethics of researching. So remote research is the biggest workplace revolution in the history. Okay, that includes remote work. So we have to gather what appropriate tools can be used to facilitate research. What best tool can facilitate online collaboration? We have a lot nowadays. We have Google Suite, we have Zoom, we have Hangouts, we have Slack or Teams, we have CRN, we have Trello, we have Telegram, we have digital whiteboards. So a lot. There are a lot of tools that can be utilized for this purpose. Smooth distributed collaboration requires alignment also on how, when, and why to use each of these platforms. There are so many platforms. We just have to study which is the best platform that can be utilized for our research. Okay, which among of these tools can best elicit our research objectives? Okay, when will you communicate through to a research participant? How are you going to communicate? Is it via email, via messenger, via Trello, via Telegram? So you just have to identify which will work best. Okay, and when are you going to comment in a document, like for example Google Doc? Are you going to meet through a video conferencing tool? So you have to list down all things that you need to do. Okay, of course you need to have an acumen, your ability to judge, to assess all these platforms. What what best what will be the best platform to be utilized for this research? Am I going a Google form? Am I going to have a video conferencing tool? Am I going to use a digital blackboard? Okay, and also one important thing also in here that we have to discuss is the research area, the ethics area rather. The ethics of remote research refers to research involving the remote acquisition of data from or about your human participants, typically using the internet and associated digital technologies. So this includes the selection and the selection of your research participants, your recruitment of your research participants. How are you going to seek informed consent? How are you going to seek anonymity, confidentiality? How will you ensure data integrity? How will you ensure their privacy and security, among other components? Okay, these are all important or necessary in terms of the research design and data collection. And remote research, this poses various potential challenges and limitations, including compromised data quality. The risks to confidentiality, security, and privacy, you have to take note of those. And excluding certain people or groups who may not have access to or the ability to use technologies needed for the remote research. Because, for example, you're doing an ethnographic research or you will be having a video conferencing tool. Some of them will be assisted to set up their devices. So some, aside from your research participants, others may be listening nearby. So how are you going to prevent that? Because that is a security issue, okay, or a privacy issue. Okay, so those areas. And then moderation. There are excellent tools out there that will let you conduct research moderated in real time and unmoderated. In unmoderated research, the tool itself actually runs the study for you by giving you the participants the tasks and recording their screen while they are being performed. Okay, since the tool itself can guide the users along, the research can be performed at any time. Okay, and the user gets to choose that time. Okay, so as the researcher, you just have to watch the sessions and code them afterwards. But it makes the collection of the data incredibly fast. But if you will be doing unmoderated, you have to be very careful because you have to um, ensure that your task list of the things that your research participants will be doing are all clearly defined and can be understood well by your research participants. Okay, because you will not be able to arrive you will not be able to reach or to achieve your research objectives if the process of getting responses is not very clear among the research participants. Okay, now, we also have the methods. Okay, so when we speak of methods, what tools are you going to use? Okay, what tools are you going to use? Survey? Are you going to use a survey? Okay, so you do a survey, uh, you can release, like for example, via Google Form, your research your research instrument, and And the form itself will do the analysis for you. You just have to interpret the data. Okay. And we also have remote interviews. We can move to the next slide. We can have remote interviews. You can choose what platform will you be using. Is it video conferencing tool, okay, or just a phone call. But of course, a video adds a layer of meaning to the the research, to your research endeavor. And then virtual focus group can also be conducted. Okay, discussions can also be done online. So you just have to, as mentioned, decide which among the digital technologies can you utilize for this purpose. And we also call data valence instead of surveillance. So in here, you are assessing, you are checking on the what type of data are you really you be using for your research. Okay, you have to survey what among the different, among the information that's there, what will be utilized for this purpose. And large scale data, analyzing all this, we can, instead of going there, for example, instead of going there, you can you can make use of secondary data and analyze this one. Then text and data mining and trend analysis. So all these are the traditional methods with a twitch. Okay, we have revised or changed the process of doing a survey. We have adopted to the changes on how can we do remote interviews. Okay, how can we do virtual focus group discussion, how can do data analysis, getting of a secondary data or getting of a first hand data. Okay, and then when we speak of a work environment, so this pertains to the factors that could affect, okay, the success or failure of your remote research. So first thing, we have to reduce the Hawthorne effect. So when we speak of Hawthorne effect, this is the likelihood of changing of a change attitude, because a person knows that he or she is being observed. Okay, so when we speak of this one, the technological barrier between us and the participant will create enough of a social distance to reduce this Hawthorne effect. So the computer mediated communication creates a distance between us, but in the case of remote research, this distance can also be used as an advantage. Okay, we can use it to make users feel more comfortable about opening up to sharing what they really feel. We aren't sitting in front of them and they didn't drive an hour to be in our laboratories, to be in our offices. So it doesn't affect them much. Okay, so they, if they would want to say something, they can easily say that. Okay, because this distance can increase rather honesty in our participants, because they have nothing to lose. Okay, so when we speak of research environment, while I'm sure that most of us researchers are pretty comfortable in our laboratory setting, in our research area or research locale, I'm sure that our homes also, given the flexible work arrangement, or our remote office, it might be also a comfortable location for us to do our research. Okay, the researcher should find a place wherein he or she is more comfortable. You have to find a more comfortable environment for you to, wherein you will be fully present, not distracted, and you are focused on your research. So your research output gets better simply because you are in a distraction free place. Okay? Research is also on the participants' time. So they choose the time for a moderated session, but they don't have to go anywhere because it doesn't have they don't have the time, they it doesn't take them time to travel. In the case of unmoderated study, it's also completely up to them when they perform the session. So the research is literally on their time, not ours. So we have also to take advantage of time zones. So we catch people outside our workday when it's best for them to participate while still working during your workday. For example, you can conduct an informant interview or a focus group discussion virtually at 9 o'clock in the morning to catch the end of the workday in western areas of Canada, United States, and Mexico, where it is 5 o'clock in the afternoon at their countries. So this makes it easier for the participants to participate in their research because it's outside their workday and it's a more normal day for us. And as one last thing is communication. Okay, communication is the key in remote working environment. You have to make sure that our members, okay, our research team communicate with each other and cross functionally. Okay, it will be paramount to ensure that our research projects are completed on time, accurately, and it is meeting or exceeding our requirements. Okay, and when it comes to generative work, our research team, needs a digital platform wherein we can co-create content or wherein we can co-create our research paper. So we can make use of digital sticky notes. These can help us organize our listing, our flowcharts, our diagrams, our frameworks, our methods, and this will help us align our teams. So there are a lot of tools. We can make use of Google Drive, Microsoft Teams, Google Doc. So these are our teams should be able to orchestrate our work across this platform, and we all have to develop a shared mind and a shared reference of where are we already, what is our status in terms of our research. Okay, now that we are working remotely, we have to put a lot of effort into how we document our work, how we share and gather input, and how we keep fragile and abstract ideas floating. So there are a lot of technological tools that can help us. Yes, none of them is perfect, but we just have to learn how to which among these platforms, these digital technologies can work best for our team. And the more teams can become fluent in using these shared digital tools to capture and create a visual representation of our thinking, then we can easily manipulate this one, and the less physical distance will be a barrier to collaborating. Okay? Now, let me speak about the challenges. What makes it difficult? Okay, what makes it difficult in doing or facilitating research remotely? First is what we call digital divide. Okay, so when we speak of digital divide, to what extent? Okay, to what extent are participants or researchers being excluded because of economic reasons or knowledge reasons? So who are those that are usually, okay, commonly untouched because of this digital divide? First, of course, those with lack of digital those with lack those lacking, sorry, those lacking digital literacy, those who does not have access to digital technologies, those who are socioeconomically deprived and thus likely to have less resilience to these different shocks that we are experiencing, those who need support for this research, those who have mental health issues, those who have been adversely affected by COVID, those who are unwell. But these people may be a good, okay, they may be a good uh, population for our research. Okay, so how do we address? First, we can touch base with the community or with the research local. Okay, we can create a community mobilizers or research mobilizers wherein we will be tasking them, we will be assigning them to assist. Okay, to assist these untouched. Okay, these untouched research participants whom can provide meaningful research results to our research projects. But of course, you need to allocate also research funding to enhance your access to technology. And if you really can't go there, if you really cannot afford these things, you can make use of secondary data. Okay, instead of getting first-hand data, optimize the evidences that are there already, analyze them. And last one, you can design sampling strategies deliberately that would include these hard to reach groups. Okay. And next, second challenge is on ethics. Okay. How do we get consent? Okay. Is it physical signature or via email discussion? Or are you can facilitate via audio or video recording? Okay. But what is important is that you get consent. Okay. You get consent from your research participants. And you also, the setting should, as I have mentioned, should also be considered. Privacy issues related to participants and facilitators carrying out the research from within their own homes or potentially public spaces should be considered. Okay. And the risk, okay, as I've explained during the presentation of the REST 3Ws table. So, for example, one of the researchers, Mar Hefka, mentioned that ethical issue of being unable to secure that the space in which data is gathered is private, as participants may not be able to control the space which they are using. This is particularly problematic for group research wherein the activities wherein the sensitive data is gathered. We gather our participants in an area wherein their housemates, their family members are there, overhearing sensitive personal information, sensitive participant information. So for this, we just have to fully inform our online participants about how we protect our data. Okay, how do we store the data? How do we secure the privacy? How do we ensure confidentiality? We have to highlight with them as well if they don't if they are feeling also uncomfortable about the research, they can withdraw anytime. Okay, and researchers must be aware of the participants' environment conditions. And we also have to observe guidelines. Okay, as researchers, we have predetermined guidelines, we have established guidelines on how do we relate with privacy, with confidentiality, and data protection. Okay, now at this point, I'd like to present to you some of the conceptual frameworks. These are important consideration in research because they are our guiding philosophy for the more practical components and strategies that are implemented in the research methodology. We consider four frameworks that are beginning to emerge in the very recent literature related to research in the digital age. Namely, we have four: activity theory, actor network theory, competitive practice, and technology acceptance framework. So let's begin first with activity theory. So when we speak of activity theory, we are referring to the work of a Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky. Okay, so this refer to what people do, their motivations for doing things, the roles that mediate or constrain the activities, as well as the objects or artifacts at which the activity is directed. So the fundamental analysis here is the activity. Tools, whether they be physical objects or systems, such as language, for example, these are used by people to accomplish the activity. So what people do, the activities, these are goal oriented and conscious actions of the person. One moment. So the emphasis here is very much on the social factors and interactions that mediate the activity. Okay, the importance of the context within which the activity is carried out, and that the idea that the activity is evolving and complex. Hence, activity theory focuses very much on the relationships among person, motive, community roles, division of labor, and outcomes. And this, as mentioned by Cole and in 2093, the interacting factors as an activity system are kind of distributed cognition. So these are dynamic, changing. So for example, when we have uh, Rambert, who made a research in 2012, he employed this framework of activity theory to explore the academic and student interactions within Facebook in terms of cognitive scaffolding of learners and democratizing student access to knowledgeable peers. Whereas Murphy also applied this theory uh, in terms of his study of the use of technology in higher education teaching. We also have Spasser in 2002, wherein this theory was applied with a case study methodology to investigate the technologically mediated social practices about digital library. Okay, we also have another theory. This is focus on actors. Okay, actor network theory. So this is focusing more on the networks. Okay, this is focusing on how do we sustain networks. Central to this actor network theory is the metaphor of heterogeneous networks. So a way of suggesting that society, organizations, agents, and machines are all effects generated in pattern networks of diverse materials. So we use this one, uh, it makes it possible to explore how interactions with technology influence actions and how technology is socially constructed. So we have two examples here of researchers who made use of this one. We have Girazi in 2014. This was used to underpin the ideologies on the public cloud of Iran. We have Steenbruggen. His team also conceptualized traffic incident management in Netherlands in terms of ANT. And we also have, for the third framework, we have community of practice. So these COPs, we form this these are formed by groups of people who have in common a concern or interest in an area or activity so that they can interact regularly to learn more. So the advent of social media and the associated synchronous and asynchronous communication tools, these present a new opportunities for us to form the COPs because time zone is long no is irrelevant already. So if we have borderless education, we also have borderless research. We can communicate with people all around the world, okay, around the world, just on a tip. Okay, so this one, when we speak of community of practice, we are looking at three essential characteristics. Of course, the domain. Okay, what is your shared interest? Okay, and then the community who will be engaged in this shared activity, in this discussion. And then also, of course, the practice. What shared experience, what cases, what stories are you going? These are the important source of knowledge. Okay. So this was utilized by Kietzman in 2013 when they studied, and when that his team studied mobile communities of practice as a lens for understanding how workers now self-organize. And then we also have Nammark with and Shui and Shu rather, wherein they employed the COP framework to manipulate the power outside the work of the Facebook status updates. And then we also have another one who made use of the COP as um, the person analyzed the knowledge construction in a web forum with in terms web forum on health, okay, related health discussions. And lastly, we have technology acceptance model. So this one, we predict individual acceptance of technology. So this is better used to understand how we are shaped, okay, how our attitudes and behaviors are shaped in digital context. So these were used by Lee and his team in 2012, wherein the emotional aspect of a social media event was analyzed using the TAM framework. And we also have Eagleman in 2013, wherein he analyzed the role of social media within the niche of sporting organizations in the United States. So those are basically four models which could guide us whenever we are doing research uh, and if we are doing researches associated with technology. Okay, so at this point, at this juncture, may I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in via Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And may I ask, okay, may I ask from our participants, in one sentence or less, kindly summarize what is the most important or most useful points that you have learned from today's webinar. So we'll look into your feedback. Just one sentence or phrase or in bullet form, what is the most important or the most useful, okay, that you have most useful concept, most important tool that you have learned from today's webinar. So if you don't, I'll wait for your feedback, and thank you so much once again, PSQ Nation, for having me here and allowing me to share, inviting me to share this my insights on digital research. I love AQ and rest table. Thank you so much, ma'am. To be adaptive in various situations. Thank you, Sir Jeswell. Vask Tech, yes. Rest 3Ws is one of my babies. I really want to explore more on that. So thank you so much. I
All
hope
right.
that Hi, Doc Naro.
Hi again, Dr. San. So thank you for that very effective yet challenging presentation on REST and
Yeah.
3Ws. So we have some questions for you, Doc Sans. So let me check. So for the first question, how can we ensure or how can we reduce the biases in doing a digital research?
Biases in terms of
Maybe in terms of
judgment.
what you call this, in terms of judgment, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the data treatment, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Well, similar with the traditional research, whenever we're doing whenever we are doing our research, we always have to suspend our biases. Okay, we always have to look into what story may be unearthed. Okay, what story may be unearthed from our research. We don't put into our judgment, we don't put into our biases early on. Okay, how do we do this? We detach ourselves. Okay, how do we detach ourselves from from uh from the research participant, meaning that what I'm talking about is we don't put our judgment, our biases into our research participants mouth. Okay, with the remote research, it's actually like an actual research being done remotely. The difference here is that the only difference here is that we are doing it physically detached with our research participants. Okay, as I mentioned, we may be outside, we may be uh, at home or in a different country or a different place without our participants. Okay, that's the basic difference, but the main framework of doing research is still the same. What is the different thing here is that we have to unlearn the tool, we have to learn the tools in doing remote research, particularly the technology. We have to make use of the technology. Okay, in terms of biases, in which technology is the best platform, we have to keep an open mind. What platform, what device would best suit our research. And also, as researcher, we also have to learn how to make use of this. If you are equipped with the use of, let's say, Google or Microsoft Team, then you use it, because you will feel more comfortable if you are using an appropriate tool, a tool wherein you are familiar with. And if you are not yet familiar with it, learn the process. Learn how do you facilitate it. How, for example, StreamYard. How is it done? Via StreamYard. So you learn the process, you learn the nitty-gritty of it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Shans, for that enlightening insights. And of course, we have to get rid, of course, of the technophobia, I guess, when it
Yeah.
comes to doing this kind of research. So,
Mhm.
any
You
piece of
have to be
advice?
brave.
Yeah, of course,
Embrace
Doctor.
technology.
All right.
Because
Doctor,
uh,
for those people who are transitioning from the traditional way into a remote setup of doing research, what piece of advice can you give them? So, what are the things that they need to prepare first? What are the beginner's kit, if I may
yeah,
say, that they have to have?
first, let's start with the soft skill. Okay, you have to be humble enough to accept that we don't know everything. Okay, we have to accept that we have, but that we need to learn adapting with this new technology. Some of those I know, because of this technology, they just retire. They just focus on doing other things because they cannot embrace technology. But then they misses the activity. They miss the activity. They miss doing it again. Okay. So one is, you have to be your openness to learn. Your openness to learn should be there. Okay, don't be afraid of this technology, because this will serve as your friend. Okay, for example, traditionally we do our surveys manually, right? we
Yes.
go to our we go to our research locale, distribute our papers, and then go back to our area, put into Excel our document, the responses manually. But now we have explored Google Form, we have explored MS Forms,
Once.
and the analysis is there already. Okay, I mean the tabulation of data is there already. Sometimes it's still presented in the graph, and then it makes things easy for researcher. Okay, and then aside from that's your soft skill, right? Openness, be open, be humble, and the set for the technical skill, you have to learn how to use it. You yourself go there in front of your computer, navigate StreamYard, navigate Google, navigate MS Teams, navigate Trello, navigate Telegram. So you sit there with your mentor. Probably your mentor would be your kid. your kid, or the younger generation. They know a lot, so you or your IT technician. So you sit with them and ask for help. How are you going to navigate? And there are also a lot of free webinars, like sa Coursera, or any other learning apps. They provide free trainings on how can we navigate these technologies.
All right, agreed to that, Doc Sans, that you have to be humble and you have to be open and accept all these changes for you to
Yeah.
be adaptive. All right. For the next question, Doc Sans, so people may argue that this kind of research may only be applicable to, like for example, a highly technological research. But for example, how do businesses would do this? What advice can you give them? And for example, on the area of people management and social sciences, perhaps, can we also can you also apply these techniques in those areas of research?
Yes, of course. This can be applied in all types of researches, actually. Be it a social research, or an applied science. For applied, of course, it might be difficult. The challenge would be on setting up the laboratory. But
Yeah.
then again, with the different resources that we have nowadays, it can be done. It can be done. For social research, we can do ethnographic research remotely as well. As I have mentioned in one of my examples a while ago, you can mobilize mobilizers in that community. If your research is ethnographic, or phenomenology, you can just look for people whom you can touch at the community, communicate, network with them, set up the area, okay, and then set up. For example, there will be CCTVs there, wherein you can, you can observe what is happening in that
Mhm.
area. Mm.
All right. So to close this, Dr. Sanz, because I think we are overtime. Nag-overtime na sa atin dito. so So to close this, Dr. San, so do you think this kind of research, for example, since we are transitioning now to the hybrid system, so what are the steps that the government can provide, for example, to our researchers or to the private sector for them to continue with this kind of research?
Well, so many organizations now are actually actively, actively, those research organizations, they are adapting with this kind of system, and they have been providing also some scholarships, and these scholarships involves technological assistance. So it's a very good effort from the government sector, and also there are private sectors who are also offering the same technological assistance, and hopefully others will be able to do that as well. This would enable us to produce researches that will really help the society.
All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Sanz. And would you like to greet someone, Dr. Sanz, or to promote something under your company, perhaps?
None at all. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I hope that I was able to share insights on digital research.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanz. And there you go, PSQ Nation. Uh, our speaker again is Dr. Sandra Maningas, the Vice President for the Philippine Quality Award Administration of PSQ. So at this moment, let me read the citation of the certificate. The PSQ, Philippine Society for Quality, Incorporated, awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Zandra and Maningas for imparting valuable insights and inspiration to the participants during the webinar Doing Research in and on Digital on December 17, 2021, signed by our very own President, Dr. Ray B. Premista. Congratulations and
Thank
thank you
you
so
so
much, Dr.
much.
Sanz.
Thank you so much.
All right. PSQ Nation, for you to be able to receive your own certificate, kindly scan the QR code and answer the survey questions right after. Okay, so again, PSQ Nation, this has been a very fruitful afternoon for us. So kindly explore more about PSQ. We have so much in store for you for our next year. So I hope this will be the beginning of many more partnership of PSQ with all of you, PSQ members, PSQ Nation. So also, we can I think we can already distribute before the year ends the PSQ Nation magazine, the official publication of the Philippine Society for Quality. Also, you can find us on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and as well as the YouTube channel. All right. So again, this has been your host, Dr. Nara Navarro. I thank you for attending today's webinar. And let me be the one to greet you an advanced Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year, PSQ Nation. Okay, mabuhay, and thank you so much. Bye bye.